Everybody like and subscribe, praise the bell icon. Story number 1.
It was past midnight when Alex pulled into the nearly empty Burger King parking lot off a rural highway. He had been driving for hours, and hunger pushed him into the glow of the flickering neon sign. Inside, the place felt strangely hollow. The lights buzzed overhead, and only one worker stood behind the counter, a thin man with sunken eyes and a strange, too-wide smile. His name tag was scratched to the point of being unreadable. Alex ordered a Whopper, fries, and a drink. The worker never spoke, just nodded and rang it up. The silence made the air feel heavier than it should. When the food came, the tray was shaking slightly in the worker's hands, like he couldn't stop trembling. Alex muttered a thank you and sat near the window. Outside, the lot was deserted except for his own car. When he bit into the burger, something felt off immediately. It wasn't just undercooked. It had a metallic, almost coppery taste that stuck to his tongue. He pushed the food away, deciding it wasn't worth the risk. That's when he noticed something chilling. In the reflection of the window, behind the counter, there were more people standing in the kitchen. He could see the outlines of 3 or 4 figures, motionless in the shadows, all facing him. But when he turned his head to look directly, there was no one there, only the lone worker, staring at him, lips curled into that same stretched-out grin. The worker didn't look away, didn't blink. He just stood there, smiling. Alex tried to shake it off and went to refill his drink. But when he lifted the soda lid, the ice inside wasn't ice at all. It looked like small white fragments, shards of something that looked horribly like teeth. His stomach turned, and he dropped the cup. The crash echoed in the empty space, but the worker didn't move. He just whispered, low and scratchy, "You shouldn't be here." Alex bolted, rushing out the glass doors, fumbling with his car keys. As he pulled out of the lot, his headlights caught something in the drive-through lane. A group of figures, 6 or 7 of them, standing perfectly still, their heads all tilted at the same unnatural angle, watching his car leave. When he glanced back in his rearview mirror, the Burger King lights had gone completely dark. The building looked abandoned, windows boarded, the neon sign broken. He pressed the gas harder, refusing to look back again. Later that night, when he stopped at a gas station to collect himself, he told the clerk about what he saw. The man just looked at him, pale and serious, and said that Burger King had shut down years ago after a worker was caught serving meat that wasn't supposed to be on the menu. The building had been condemned ever since. But Alex still swears he tasted that metallic flavor on his tongue for days afterward. And sometimes, when he's driving at night, he'll see that same wide grin reflected in his window.
Everybody like and subscribe, praise the bell icon. Story number 2.
There was a Burger King off the interstate that most travelers passed by without much thought. Locals whispered about it, though, saying it wasn't right, that things happened there after closing. But those kinds of rumors float around every small town fast food joint. The story I'm about to tell, however, is one that made even the employees refuse to speak about it. In 2016, a night shift worker named Travis was on the closing crew. It was around 2:30 in the morning when he was mopping the dining area. He'd been there for 6 months and always hated the late shifts because something about the store after hours made him feel like he was being watched. The restaurant had huge windows, and when the lights inside reflected against the glass, you couldn't see outside, just your own reflection. That night, while dragging the mop across the tile, he froze. For a split second, he thought he saw someone standing outside against the glass, pressed close, but when he blinked, it was gone. Shaking it off, he went to the back where the fryers and grills were shut down. He swore he heard faint footsteps behind him, but when he turned around, no one was there. The other 2 coworkers had gone to take out the trash. Alone in the kitchen, he heard the soda machine hiss, followed by the sound of the ice dropping into a cup. When he walked over, one of the paper cups was filled halfway with soda, sitting on the counter. The machine had poured itself. By the time his coworkers came back in, Travis was pale and jittery. They teased him, saying he was spooking himself. They laughed until they went to lock the lobby doors. The glass front doors wouldn't latch shut, almost like something was pushing against them from the outside. It took all three of them pulling at once to finally hear the click of the lock. Later, as they were finishing, the manager told Travis to grab the sign from outside. He stepped into the empty parking lot, and that's when he saw it. The Burger King crown from the kids' meal bin was sitting on the hood of his car. He hadn't put it there. He hadn't even touched one of those things in months. When he picked it up, he noticed it was wet. He thought it was just rain, but when he looked closer under the fluorescent light, his stomach dropped. It wasn't water. It was sticky, reddish, and smelled metallic. He dropped the crown and ran back inside, but when he told the others, they thought he was making it up. He stormed back out to show them, but when they got to his car, the crown was gone. Not on the hood, not on the ground, nowhere. He knew he hadn't imagined it. That was Travis's last night working there. He quit the next day. Over the years, more employees reported strange things. Orders appearing on the screen when no one was at the counter. The play area filling with the sound of children's laughter even when it had been removed years earlier. Crowns left in strange places, on mop buckets, inside lockers, even in the freezer. The building is still there today, and people still eat there every day like nothing's wrong. But ask anyone who worked a closing shift and they'll tell you, once the dining room goes quiet and the lights dim, the Burger King himself isn't just a mascot. He's watching, always watching.
Everybody like and subscribe, praise the bell icon. Story number 3.
There's a Burger King off a quiet highway in the Midwest that workers whisper about, though you won't hear anything if you just stop in for a quick meal. It looks like any other. Bright signs, cheap chairs, and the smell of grease hanging in the air. But the employees know something's wrong after hours. One night, a crew member named Travis was closing with 2 coworkers. They had cleaned the lobby, locked the doors, and were working on the kitchen when the front register beeped as if someone had placed an order. Thinking it was a glitch, Travis walked over and checked the screen. It displayed a single order, 1 Whopper, no onion. The strange part was the timestamp. It showed it had been placed exactly at 2:37 a.m., a time the registers weren't even supposed to function because the system reset then. They laughed it off and cleared the order, but then the drive-thru headset crackled to life. A voice came through, low and rough, asking if they were still serving. Thinking maybe someone had pulled up outside, Travis went to the drive-thru window. But the parking lot was completely empty. No headlights, no cars, not even a sound from the road. He told himself it must have been interference from a trucker's CB radio. But when he turned back, he froze. The kitchen screen had lit up again, this time showing the same order repeated, 1 Whopper, no onion, over and over, filling the entire screen in red letters. His coworkers stared at it in silence, the beeping growing louder until Travis yanked the power cord from the wall. The screen went black, but the faint smell of burning onions filled the room, even though they hadn't cooked any all night. Trying to shake it off, they decided to finish and leave. As Travis walked toward the back to take the trash out, he noticed grease footprints leading from the fryers into the storage freezer. They weren't theirs. He and his coworkers all had clean shoes from mopping. Still, he followed them, joking nervously that someone was trying to scare them. He pulled open the heavy freezer door and felt an icy gust rush out. The footprints ended right in the middle of the freezer, but there was no one inside. The next morning, the manager showed up and reviewed the cameras, assuming it was just kids messing around. What he found instead made him shut the laptop and refuse to talk about it. The footage showed the 3 employees in the kitchen, but in several frames, there was a 4th figure standing by the fryer. A tall man in a Burger King uniform that didn't match the current design, just standing there watching them. He never appeared on the footage walking in or out, only in still flashes when the order screens lit up. Travis quit the next week after he swore he heard the drive-thru headset whisper his name while he was mopping. Other employees since then have reported the same order popping up at random. 1 Whopper, no onion. Some swear if you stay long enough to let it print, the smell of burned meat fills the restaurant, and you can hear the sound of someone breathing in the walk-in freezer even when it's empty. Nobody eats there past midnight anymore. The ones who have don't stay on staff for long.
Everybody like and subscribe, praise the bell icon. Story number 4.
There's a story that made its rounds among late-night fast food workers that still unsettles me to this day. It happened at a Burger King off a quiet highway in Texas, one of those locations that stayed open until 2 a.m. because of truckers and night shift workers passing through. The manager at the time swore it was true, and the details are chilling enough that even the most skeptical employees stopped laughing about it. One night, close to closing, the only people working were a young manager named Chris, a cook in the back, and a cashier up front. Around 1:30 a.m., the place was dead quiet. No cars in the drive-thru, no customers inside. Chris was finishing paperwork in the back office when the cashier called out that someone had just walked in. He thought it was strange because he hadn't heard the door chime. When he came out, there was a man standing at the counter, not speaking, just staring at the glowing menu board above. Chris later said that what struck him first was how overdressed he seemed. Dark jacket, gloves, and a knit cap, even though it was hot and humid outside. The cashier asked what he wanted, but the man didn't answer. Instead, he tilted his head slightly, then turned and walked toward the bathrooms without saying a word. They assumed he was just odd or maybe drunk, and they tried to brush it off. But 15 minutes passed and he never came back out. Chris knocked on the bathroom doors. Nothing. He even pushed them open, both stalls and urinals completely empty. At that exact moment, the fryer in the back started up on its own, hissing as if something had been dropped in. The cook yelled for Chris, swearing he hadn't touched it. When Chris got there, the fryer basket was submerged in bubbling oil with nothing in it. Thinking it was just a malfunction, he cut the power to the machine. That's when the cashier screamed. Chris ran back up front and saw the man standing behind the counter, directly next to the cashier. There was no way he could have gotten there without being seen. He would have had to come out of the locked employee door. Chris shouted at him, and the man slowly turned his head toward him. The cashier swore later that his eyes looked completely black, not like pupils, but solid voids. Without a word, the man stepped backward into the walk-in freezer. Chris and the cook bolted to grab something heavy to defend themselves, but when they opened the freezer seconds later, it was empty. The only thing inside was a set of wet footprints leading toward the corner and stopping abruptly. They closed early that night, all three shaken. What made it worse is that when corporate sent someone to check the security footage the next day, the cameras showed the fryer basket lowering on its own, the cashier reacting in terror, and Chris yelling toward the counter, but the space next to the cashier was empty. No man was ever captured on video entering or leaving. The Burger King still operates today, but none of the staff will stay past midnight. Customers who pass through late at night sometimes mention seeing a man in a knit cap standing near the bathroom hallway, staring at the counter without ordering anything.
Everybody like and subscribe, praise the bell icon. Story number 5.
There's a Burger King in Ohio that most locals whisper about, but rarely mention in detail. The place looks ordinary enough during the day, just another fast food spot off the highway. But late at night, strange stories come out of that building, and some of them have been documented by the very people who work there. One former night shift employee recalled how the store manager insisted on closing early whenever the last customer left after midnight. The official reason was cleaning the fryers, but everyone knew it was because of what happened a few years back. A young man drunk from a nearby bar had stumbled into the Burger King just before closing. Cameras show him ordering a Whopper and sitting alone at a booth near the back. 30 minutes later, he was gone. The security footage showed him standing up, walking toward the restroom, and never coming out. Not once. He wasn't seen leaving through the front door, the back door, or even the emergency exits. The next morning, police searched the place top to bottom. Nothing. No broken tiles, no hidden doors, no way someone could just disappear. His car remained in the parking lot for days until his family picked it up. He was never found. The employees kept working there, but they all admitted the back hallway near the restrooms gave them chills. The lights flickered for no reason, and people swore they heard footsteps pacing when no one was there. One worker said he was restocking cups in the storage room when he heard the sound of the men's restroom hand dryer turning on by itself. When he checked, the bathroom was empty, but there was condensation on the mirror, like someone had just been inside. Customers reported unsettling things too. A woman once complained to the staff that the man in the booth behind her kept staring. When the cashier looked, the booth was completely empty. Another time, a delivery driver doing a late-night drop swore he saw someone standing at the window after hours. He called the manager, thinking someone had broken in, but when the manager reviewed the cameras, nothing appeared on the footage, even though the driver described the figure in detail. A tall man in a Burger King uniform, pale, with a blank expression. The scariest account came from a young crew member who quit after just 2 weeks. She claimed she was cleaning near the bathrooms when she heard someone whisper her name. She thought it was another worker messing with her, but when she turned, the stall door in the men's room slowly swung open, and inside was the missing man's wallet, sitting on the toilet seat. No one knows how it got there. The police confirmed it was his, but they couldn't explain why it showed up years later in a bathroom that had been cleaned countless times. The Burger King still operates today, though the night shift is almost impossible to staff. New hires rarely last long. Customers who know the story avoid the restrooms altogether, and delivery drivers keep their visits short. Some say if you eat there late enough, you might see someone sitting in the far booth, watching quietly, waiting for a moment when no one is looking.